Welcome. This is Wisdom for the Businesswoman on Wednesdays. This is a regular session, and I encourage you to join either live or in replay on my YouTube channel. Today, I want to talk a little bit about role models because I don't want you to get the impression that you have to fit into a certain field or in a limit your thinking in any way at all. And I'm going to start with somebody way back in history, Leonardo da Vinci, 1452 to 1519. And I want to dispel the myth that this increase in diagnoses, rather than just being an increase in awareness of the symptoms, was actually not started by the pharmaceutical industry to raise their revenues. I mean, that is a long time ago. Leonardo was the bastard son of a very wealthy business owner. Because he was born outside of the family, he was not required to work in the family business. So he undertook an amazing number of diverse activities to satisfy his creativity. He was known as the master of the undone. I am sure most people are aware that he painted the Mona Lisa, one of the most famous portraits in art history. But he carried it around with him for 15 years because it wasn't quite perfect. Do any of you relate to that? I just can't release my product. It's not quite perfect. Well, it started a long time ago. You are not unique in that behavior. But he had the benefit of a large staff to support him, interns, apprentices. And he would have them finish projects or do the detail work that was just beyond his ability to focus. But he also lost a tremendous amount of business by not finishing projects or turning projects away when wealthy people wanted to pay him huge amounts of money because he was not interested. I mean, that's too trivial. That's too simple. Not worth my time. Do you resonate with any of those behaviors? I will leave the remainder of the autobiography about Leonardo because it truly is well worth reading, to Walter Isaacson, who wrote the biography Leonardo da Vinci. As a woman, you have been a fighter all your life. You battle to have symptoms evaluated, you battle to be diagnosed, and you battle to find treatment because there are so few people who are qualified at treating the condition in women that there's a lack of professionally trained therapists. 30 years ago, the person I was living with suggested I see a therapist. And his comment to me was, "You've been far too successful to even think about ADD." Well, I closed the box on that discussion for 30 years, not with good consequences. I have created a list of stories for people in diverse professions. They will be appearing in a book, and now I'm putting a stake in the ground, of leverage your ADD and ADHD advantages. So you will find that, and I don't have a date yet, but at least now you know that it's pending. And there are a plethora of people in amazingly different fields, but I'm just going to talk about a few. First of all, I want to introduce myself. Why should you be listening to me? What credibility do I bring to the table? Because I am not a doctor nor a therapist, but I have lived for decades and decades and decades with undiagnosed ADD, and not necessarily to my advantage in all situations. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I was a very successful corporate executive in a high-paced IT field. I'm a speaker, an author, and I'm your commentator for these sessions. I'm also part of the 50% of people with ADD or ADHD who also have dyslexia. And until the modern support tools like Grammarly and spell check and all sorts of other things, it was really a struggle. I battled both with reading and phonics. I regularly confuse was and saw and who and how. Even today, as I go to write something on my laptop, I have to think about, is it who or is it how? It has to be a conscious thought. And the family pressures to perform were huge. Getting a 98 on a math exam was only greeted with what happened to the other 2%. And I ended up self-branding myself as stupid in first grade because of my lack of ability with phonics. And I have carried that with me throughout many of my successful performances. And I encourage you at this time to journal. Go back and think about what behaviors triggered your thinking today. And as you something may not occur immediately, but I really encourage you to go through that process of what are the challenges? How did I overcome them? Am I still masking those? Is there a way for me to offload some of those challenges to other members of my team at work or to my family members to reduce the burden at home? I ended up starting my first business at 16, teaching piano lessons to small children. Because of my dyslexia, my dad didn't think I was worth an investment in college. And so I took over a teaching practice from one of my orchestra classmates who was going off to pursue her college interest after high school. Started with 3 students, and I ended up growing that business to 13 students in sophomore year in college, along with 22 credits. I was a math major with a physics and economics minor. And people now complain about, oh, I have 16 credits. I can't possibly do that. I have to admit, I have a little less patience with that. But anyway, my dyslexia limited certain career options. A woman in the IT field was a rarity to begin with, and the typical jobs that were available were administration and programming. Well, with dyslexia, neither of those was an option that I could even consider. But what I did uncover was I had a great skill for listening to clients talk about their business problems, my economic background, and translating those into documentation that I could turn over to either the manufacturing for the physical product or to the software developers for their programming to support the needs of these business owners. And I was able to use that skill throughout my career with different titles in different environments, and as a visionary working on things that have not yet been common practice in the IT field, which eventually got me labeled as subversive because I wouldn't support the corporate vision, which was their cash cow. But as a visionary, I could see with very limited future potential, which demonstrated itself in the early 90s. I was a trailblazer. I was the first female sales rep in my office when 3-piece suits came with skirts. I was the first female sales manager in an office where the branch manager did not want women in that position. And I was the highest ranking woman on a manufacturing site managing one of the briefing centers when there were 15,000 employees. It takes courage. It takes just a determination and a belief in yourself. And again, journal here. Where have you positioned yourself on the bleeding edge in whatever role you've been playing or trying to play, or to break through the glass ceiling? This is very important information for you to build your self-confidence, your self-worth, and your self-esteem. Because regardless of the immediate challenge you're facing, you can look back at those successes and say, I deserve to be here. I have earned this right. I have proven myself. And that will give you the oomph, the stamina, and the commitment to continue your upward climb. Now I want to talk about a couple of other role models. Somebody you might be very familiar with, Simone Biles, the gymnast. When somebody pointed out that the width of that beam that she does all those fantastic things is basically the width of your cell phone. I can't even walk on that when the cell phone's on the floor, let alone a couple of feet in the air at the speeds that she produces her performance, her exercises. I guess that's the right word. She's open about it. She's been taking medication since early in her life, and has seriously demonstrated that she's a role model that you can encourage yourself or your children to pursue. It takes a tremendous amount of commitment to the exercise and the regular drills that you have to go through. Mel Robbins, the podcaster, does a magnificent job of being vulnerable in front of the world with all of the challenges that she faces, raising her children, just performing, normal daily routines, remembering to close the car doors. If you haven't seen that video, it is hysterical. So she's another role model to think about. I'm going to talk about another Olympic gold medal winner, Michael Phelps. And he did get himself into trouble when he moved away from his exercise. And again, I'm going to refer you to my Friday sessions. Manage your ADD or ADHD with sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Obviously, the exercise that he went through to secure all of those swimming gold medals satisfied the deficiency of dopamine in his brain. And when he retired and walked away from the regular routine, he satisfied his dopamine deficiency with illegal substances. So it's not the use of stimulant medication, but it's the lack of whatever you choose to satisfy that dopamine deficiency is what got him in some trouble. And he has been able to turn around that situation. A couple of business owners. Richard Branson is better known for his dyslexia, but he also has ADD and ADHD. And he has been quoted by saying, and when asked, how do you manage all these businesses? And he says, when I come up with the idea and recognize the revenue potential, I am smart enough to hire the people who know the business well enough to run it successfully. I would never consider taking on that responsibility. So again, here's something for you to look at. Have you brought in resources to help you with your lacks, the things that if your life depended on it, you couldn't do because they were boring, repetitive tasks? And so that's on the British side of the ocean. On the US side, David Needleman is the one who started JetBlue Airlines when it was a short hop airline service in the southwestern part of the US. And he was asked at one point if he had a magic wand, would he reverse his ADHD? And he said, absolutely not. I can hire people to do the detail work. I cannot train people to be creative, to have high energy, and to just pursue things with a determination. And so he is willing to make that trade-off. Again, journal. Think about where you could use some help. with the detailed, boring, repetitive tasks, and then position yourself so that you can continue to create and share your wonderful new ideas with the world. I hope this has helped a little bit with appreciating what you bring to the table, the superpowers that you have that can't be bought or taught. I encourage your feedback and encourage you to continue to listen to the sessions. Thank you.